Here's a quote from a blog from like 10 years ago.
A blog, huh?
And it says, "We still prefer Sammy Sosa over Jerry Hairston Jr. 2 years later after the trade."
Really?
Today we are interviewing Jerry Hairston Jr., broadcaster for the Los Angeles Dodgers on Sportsnet LA.
I'm Matthew Royer.
I'm Benjamin Royer,
And this is Twinger Talk.
Thank you, Jerry, for sitting down with Twinger Talk today.
Hey, thanks for inviting me, guys. Look forward to it.
We're very excited to be here. Let's ask some questions here, okay?
All right.
As a son of an MLB player, what was it like having to live up to the pressure of your father or your grandfather?
Well, there was some pressure to that, especially when I was a kid growing up right outside Chicago. My dad played for the White Sox. So, when I played Little League as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, my father was the active player. So there was some attention on me, maybe some pressure, but I didn't mind that type of pressure. But as I got older, the pressure I felt was really more on myself. I wanted to succeed in the sport. I wanted to advance as far as I could, and that's the major leagues, and have a long career. So once I got to be 19, 20, 21, it was more about me being a Major League Baseball player.
Okay, so in your childhood and later on in your life, pro ball, who would you say are the biggest influences for you in your career?
Wow, that's a good question. The biggest influences, I would have to say my father and my grandfather. Those two guys played Major League Baseball. My grandfather played in the Negro Leagues. They've had tremendous influence on my life. I wanted to be just like them, and play this game of baseball. So they had a tremendous influence on me, not just on the field, but off the field as well. And then just growing up, I was a normal kid. I wanted to be kind of like Ken Griffey Jr. at times, Cal Ripken Jr., Kirby Puckett was a big player back in my day when I was a kid. Roberto Alomar too. So, and Michael Jordan was big in any sport. So as a kid, you admire certain athletes.
What was it like being drafted by the Orioles and believing that you're finally almost there?
Well, it was definitely an experience, especially getting drafted the second time by Baltimore out of college. And I figured they must want me, At the time, they were a great organization. Cal Ripken did historical things for them. He was big for that organization. So I wanted to be a part of that organization. And I knew that I had my work cut out for me to get to the big leagues. You go through the minor leagues. But in my mind, I thought that nothing was going to stop me. I was going to go out there and do my thing and figure out a way to get the big leagues and stick.
Okay, so as you said, it was your second time being drafted by the Orioles. What was the decision to go to college after being drafted out of high school?
Well, I was drafted so late as far as, I believe it was either 32nd or 42nd round out of high school. I wasn't ready. I was a good player, but I really was focusing on basketball too at the time, and I was a pretty good basketball player. I was 5'10", 150 pounds, and really, you can do that on the basketball court. You can't do that in a baseball field. So I had to put on weight, and I think college allowed me to do that. Those few years I was there, put on some weight and really focus on baseball.
So during your career, you played for a lot of organizations. What was it like to transition when you signed or was traded to these new teams?
Well, I usually wore out my welcome after the second or third year. I kind of liken it going to a new school. When I was younger, my dad played for a couple different teams, and we traveled different cities. And, I got a chance to meet new kids at different schools. So that kind of prepared me for life as far as, we get traded midseason, you're on a new ball club, so you make friends, make new friends, and really try to fit in. And usually when I was traded midseason, the team was winning. So I wanted to make sure I fit in and not kind of rock the boat and just add to whatever they were already doing. And, with Milwaukee in 2011, we had success. And in 2009, I was traded at the deadline as well with the Yankees, and we had success. We won the World Series. So I think it worked out.
So when you were playing for the Padres, you got a chance to play with your brother Scott. What was that like?
It was a great experience, playing with my younger brother. I never got a chance to play with him in Little League because I was 4 years older than him. So while I was leaving the league, he was coming in. We never played high school ball together. So for him being my baby brother, for us to play together, that was definitely unique. And for us to do it in the big leagues, it was special. And, our teammates used to give us a hard time because I'm very talkative and Scott's very quiet. He doesn't say a whole lot. And we'd be in the clubhouse, I'd be, talking trash in the clubhouse, and he's just sitting there in the back quiet. And a couple of guys go, "Why is he so talkative and you're not? You're very quiet." And he said, "Listen, I grew up around him. I didn't have any time to talk, But it was a great experience. I remember hitting a double one night, and then he was up to the plate, hit a 2-run homer to knock both of us in. And I got a chance to greet him at the plate, and that's something I'll never forget.
What was your favorite game as an MLB player?
Wow, favorite game. That's tough. So many memorable games. I can't really pick one. If I were to pick, obviously the clinch game, we won the World Series, Game 6. I got a chance to be in that game, running onto the field after we clinched. Mariano Rivera was on the mound. Shane Victorino hit a ground ball to Robinson Cano, and I was in left field. And I knew once we hit the Robbie, the game was over. So we kind of stormed Mariano Rivera, and everybody got in the pile. That is memorable. I'll never forget that. But probably one of the most fun games, if I can say fun, I ever played was an elimination game between the Brewers and the Diamondbacks. It was winner take all, the last game of the series. The loser goes home. It was an extra inning game. And I remember being really nervous playing at third base. And I was like saying, I played this game all my life. I was like, please, somebody hit a ground ball to me so I can be in the game, And I was so nervous that I remember Prince Fielder, I've known him for a long time. He was our first baseman. I get ground balls, and I was so nervous. I had to tell myself, as I'm throwing it to Prince Fielder, like I have my whole life. That's how nervous, not because I was afraid to fail. I just didn't want us or anybody to do something bad cause us to lose. So I had to really retrain my mind. Hey, it's about winning. Think about winning. Don't think about failure. Think about winning. So that was an awesome game. And Niger Morgan was able to hit a walk-off hit in the extra innings, and we celebrated as a team. So probably that was the most fun game I've ever been a part of.
Okay, as you said, you won a World Series with the Yankees. What was that experience like to be a part of a World Series winning team?
It was an incredible atmosphere to be around guys like Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Alex Rodriguez, Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte. I mean, those guys, yes, they're superstars, but just being around them, I understood why they were superstars. Their work ethic, they never took anything for granted. And really, it was all about the team. I know it's so cliche. Sometimes you hear athletes, hey, it's all about the team, this and that. They really meant it, because they figured, listen, if we win and we're successful, then other stuff will be added to us. And I'll never forget the meetings that we had before different playoff series. No matter what, you do your job. Guys on second base, move them over. Guys on third base, knock them in. Don't take any pitch for granted. If we make sure and we take care of our business, nobody can beat us. And we did that, and we became World Series champs.
How is it playing for Team Mexico in the World Baseball Classic?
It was awesome. My mom is from Sonora, Mexico, and Vinny Castilla, of Mexican descent. He's from Hermosillo, and he's was a great major league player for the Colorado Rockies, Atlanta Braves, and he's from Mexico. He was the manager, and he called myself up and my brother Scott, and he had asked us if we want to play for Team Mexico, represent, obviously your mom's native country. And we said, of course. It would be a great surprise for my mom. My mom did so much for us while my dad was playing. My mom had to be father and mother at the same time, so I think she was more proud of us playing for her Team Mexico than we were, Major League Baseball players. So it was a great experience for us and her.
Okay, so speaking of family, you are the first MLB third-generation African-American baseball player. Mm-hmm. What is that like to continue a legacy from your family?
Well, it's very special, and I never forget where I came from. The reason why I say that is I know what my grandfather went through. He was never a bitter man, always positive, and he was the first black player to play for the Chicago White Sox. He was the veteran Negro League player who was teammates with Willie Mays, teammates with Hank Aaron, played against Satchel Paige, played against Jackie Robinson. So I knew how much baseball meant to him. And then on down the line, my father, He played a long time in the big leagues, and I just shared their passion. They never forced me to play baseball. I love that at the dinner table they will have their stories, and then I would listen as a kid. I want to have those stories one day, you know. So it really made me work hard and get to the big leagues.
What was it like playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers? Like, you're here now as a broadcaster. What was it like?
Well, you know what? I've been so fortunate in my life. You know, I've played the biggest markets in the United States: New York, Chicago, L.A. I got a chance to play for the Yankees in pinstripes, win a World Series there. Got a chance to play for my hometown team, Chicago Cubs, and now finished my career in L.A. I knew when I signed here the 2-year deal, it would probably be my last 2 years in the big leagues. I was getting a little older. I was getting banged up. And my game, I guess, started to deteriorate. What some would say it deteriorated the moment I got to the big leagues. But I knew it was going to be probably the end. And I thought, what better market than L.A.? We were a really good team. We'd have a chance to win. That was really important to me. And, you know, my kids are in Phoenix area, so I can be there back and forth, and I could be really close to my kids. So that was important to me.
So how did you transition into becoming a broadcaster and to being a sports analyst for the Dodgers?
Well, I started transitioning while I was a player. So probably the last 5 or 6 years of playing in the big leagues, Harold Reynolds, who's now on MLB Network, who does a great job, he just told me, listen, you know, I've seen you do some things on camera. Why don't you come and do some work with me while you're playing? So I can kind of develop that craft and learn from him and kind of get the reps. So when time comes when I decide to hang it up, I could transition right into broadcasting, and I'm so glad I did that. I think more athletes should do that. You can't play forever. I don't care how good you are.
Yeah.
You can't play forever, you know. So, you know, I think seeing my father, you know, transition outside the game and seeing other players do that, I wanted to be like that. And listen, since I was a kid, Don Drysdale was one of my heroes. He was the broadcaster for the White Sox, okay, when my dad played. And I said, I want to be like him too. I want to play and to be a broadcaster. And I'm fortunate to do it for the Dodgers.
Was there anybody who influenced you, besides Harold Reynolds and Don Drysdale, into becoming a broadcaster when you joined the Sportsnet LA team?
Wow, I used to watch, everybody watched SportsCenter, you know, growing up. And they still do. Stuart Scott was a big influence. I love the way he brought that, the passion into sports. Craig Kilborn was a guy that I admired too. He's now in the acting world. And Dan Patrick, who has his own show now. Those guys, watching them do sports and kind of make it fun too. And sports is always fun, but really make it like a pop culture thing. That was pretty cool.
Okay, so we were laughing about this earlier on before the interview, but why do Cubs fans hate you so much?
I don't know why Cubs fans hate me so much. You know, because I'm glad you brought that up, because I would go in there as a Cincinnati Red when I was, you know, I would play for the Cubs. Then I got traded to the Rangers. I would go there as a Red. I'd go there as a Brewer, as a Dodger, and I would always get booed there. And that was my hometown team. And it really didn't bother me. I don't mind getting booed. But maybe it's that Sammy Sosa trade. And a lot of fans maybe expected a little bit more out of me, which is fine. You know, but I will say this. I tell Sammy, who I'm still friends with, I had a better season than Sammy did that year. So,
well, here's a quote from a blog from like 10 years ago.
A blog, huh?
And it says, "We still prefer Sammy Sosa over Jerry Hairston Jr. 2 years later after the trade."
Really? Well, I mean, they have the right to their opinion. That first year there, like I said, I had a better year than Sammy. Sammy was a great player. He was an icon in Chicago. The things that he did for that franchise, for that city, really uplifted that organization. And in my opinion, he should have his number retired in Chicago. I'm hoping they would do that in the near future. He was just too good of a player. I was just a player that they wanted to add to that current team, and maybe they felt Sammy maybe needed a change of scenery. You know, maybe it was just the right place at the right time. I won't say the wrong place at the wrong time. I would say the right place at the right time, because I got a chance to go to Chicago and at least play for my my hometown team. And no matter what you do in life, there's going to be some people that don't like what you do, but you move on.
So, what are your opinions on this year's Dodger team? You just made the postseason. What do you think's gonna happen?
I think that's a really good question. I mean, anything can happen in the postseason. That's what's great about baseball. I mean, with baseball, there's so many variables. Anything can happen. But that being said, the Dodgers are really set up nicely with their starting rotation, the length of their lineup, and I think they're starting to get hot at the right time. We know they had a month of September that really nobody wants to remember. They really struggled.
We played in September?
Well, other teams played in September. But I think they're able to laugh about it now. You know, they make no qualms about it. They know they didn't play well. And sometimes you're not going to play well. That's just the nature of the beast, you know. But I think now they're starting to get guys healthy. Corey Seager looks healthy again. He's swinging the bat a lot better. Justin Turner's back. He's swinging the bat the way he's capable of doing it. And now we got Yu Darvish, who's been firing on all cylinders since he's made that adjustment with his delivery on the mound. So you get Kirsch, Darvish, Alex Wood, who's had a great year, Rich Hill, Ryu. They're so deep in pitching with their hitting. There's a reason why they won 101, 102. How many games they're going to end up winning? There's a reason why they won so many games. And I think they're the team to beat in the playoffs.
Well, we'll have to see. Thank you for doing this interview with us, Jerry.
Anytime, guys. Hey, thanks for taking it easy on me. And I want the guy who did the blog, I want his name and his address. I got to talk to him in Chicago. I know some people there.
I've been Benjamin Royer.
I've been Matthew Royer.
And this is Twinger Talk.